don't need to ask every time, Sebastian.
is your Cyclone update for January 13th, 2021, provided by the Hurricane Watch team.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. The Hurricane Watch team is here with your latest update. I first just want to say thank you for 400 subscribers. It's been a while. It's been a long time. It's been a rough ride, but we are doing pretty well. And I appreciate the 400 subscribers, and I am glad to see people chatting on, YouTube streams during a tropical cyclone, typhoon, or hurricane landfall. And I'm glad that I'm able to get y'all that information that y'all want and need. I'm glad that I have viewers who enjoy my streams and who enjoy the information they get. And thank you very much for the support over these past several years. There have been very rough times, and often it has been rough. And I appreciate everyone for sticking with the journey, and I appreciate everyone trying to help me and build this team to be bigger. Today, we're going to be talking about the remains of the system, Eloise, as it continues to produce heavy rainfall in parts of southern Mozambique, as it does seem to be moving into Zimbabwe right now as we speak. It is going to be continuing to produce heavy rain for Mozambique, Zimbabwe, parts of eastern Botswana, and northern South Africa. Today, I am joined by a few of my great friends. If y'all want to introduce yourselves.
Alright, so I'm Agent Weather Forecast.
Hello.
Okay, let's just get right into it. So, I do want to just pull up the rain, because they are expected to still see a lot of rain with this system. Again, in this area, if there's any kind of mountains, if there's any kind of there's some mountains in this area, and it's going to cause mudslides and landslides, and it's going to be really bad. You're going to have mudslides, landslides, and this can increase the potential death. And again, this is the second poorest country in the world, and you're gonna have these landslides, these mudslides. It's gonna be very, very dangerous. Flooding has occurred and is continuing to occur in parts of western Mozambique, southeastern Zimbabwe, northeastern South Africa, and eastern parts of Botswana. So they are seeing areas up to 4 inches of rain. Now this is again the next 3 days. I do want to zoom in. It says in the next 3 days, so some areas 4 inches of rain, other areas up to 7 and 8 inches of rain, and they're still gonna see a lot of rain. These houses are like in shacks, little huts, are not meant to, and still, I just want to bring up the wind. The wind again has died down a lot, but even those wind gusts, you still. If this is, the ECMWF, you're still seeing wind gusts up to 68 miles per hour. That was as of 7 this morning. Right now, the latest right here, you can kind of see wind gusts are still seeing as high as almost 50 miles per hour. And, you get a wind gust, the trees have been sitting in water. If there's any trees in this area, it's just completely, everything is just wet. Everything is just soaking. You get a wind gust 40 to 50 miles an hour, that tree is easily going to fall down. If there happens to be trees in this area, those trees are going to easily be uprooted and fall down. It falls on a house. Those huts and those shacks aren't made to support a tree. Trees can weigh hundreds of tons, and even a 500-pound tree falls on a shack, it's going to flatten it in seconds. These trees often weigh hundreds of tons, and it is going to not only destroy the house, it is going to kill everyone inside instantly if it is uprooted by a strong 50-mile-an-hour wind gust. And even if there are no trees in the area, there are still going to be, again, wind gusts. Flooding is going to continue to happen. It does seem like it did slow down, but it's going to continue to move out of here. And look, as this storm continues to move, it's still bringing tropical storm force winds into parts of northern Africa, with wind gusts still about 44-45 miles per hour and in some of these areas. But the wind gusts are still really strong for these areas, and this is going to continue and it's going to turn and move out into parts of South Africa. Supposed to, is according to the track. That's what the track was showing. But as you can see, the ECMWF model definitely shows something different. Kind of shows it moving farther inland, which this does. Hold up, gotta make sure everything's okay. As y'all can see, this storm, the models do change and the tracks do change. And so regardless of where this goes, before it was showing, it's going to come through southern Africa and move off the coast. Now it's saying it's going to go farther inland. And so Botswana, it's going to go into Botswana. Again, even by Monday, not saying this is going to happen, but even by Monday, they are still seeing up to 40-mile-an-hour wind gusts. Even after this has made landfall a long time ago. It's going to continue to move inland and eventually fall apart and dissipate. Now, regardless of its intensity and its status of tropical cyclone intensity, it is still going to bring heavy rain. So I want to go back to the rain and kind of show how much rain will still fall next 5 days. Okay? Next 10 days does get a little, iffy. Before it was kind of showing, it's going to come through here and out here. Now it's kind of showing it's going well into Botswana. And as you can see, just south of this town right here, they are seeing up to 12 inches of rain in parts of Botswana. Now, I don't know if this is because of another system, but I believe that this is still part of Eloise, which, again, a foot of rain, southern Botswana, is, again, not a very well-developed country. It's a much poorer country. Most of the countries in Africa are not very developed economically, or people don't have or aren't financially supported by the government because the government doesn't have that money, and so they aren't really able to give out warnings. Now I'm going to see if there is a, does anyone know if there are any weather centers for these countries, for Zimbabwe or Botswana or South Africa?
South Africa, they might have one, but I don't think it's been in business lately. Botswana, yes, and Mozambique, no.
Mozambique, I know not. I don't know about Zimbabwe because it's got to go through Zimbabwe before it gets to Botswana. So we looked up. I tried. I did it on air, and I tried to look for a meteorological organization for Mozambique, and I didn't find anything. But I'm gonna look for Zimbabwe and then eventually Botswana and South Africa. So it's gonna really.
I was looking up right now, and they don't have like a single station, even like in South Africa, which is a populated country. So I don't really think they have a organized station that you can find on Google.
That sucks because that's when you don't have a meteorological organization, the people in that country aren't able to get warned, and so they don't really know that something is coming, and that is what leads to more deaths from these systems. And
I'm guessing they definitely, if they actually have a station there, they definitely have to have some type of wave advisory or something, because all the way down to a city called Maputo, and all the way down into far southern Mozambique, we actually have up to 4-foot waves all the way down there, and that's not even close to where Eloise made landfall here. We're seeing already up to 9.5-foot waves as well, where Eloise made landfall just yesterday. And this thing is basically all the way right now into a whole different country here. So obviously it's something very interesting here, that although this is still a tropical storm, it's still bringing extreme impacts in areas that it made landfall. Yesterday, we're still seeing extreme impacts, even up to 10.5-foot waves in the ocean, and even up to 11-foot waves deeper off the coast of Africa. And we are seeing as well near Port Elizabeth and Durban in South Africa up to 10.5-foot waves. So we have large impacts here across the ocean. So we will be seeing increasing flooding and maybe some storm surge coming in for some of these areas here, but as well, not only a big water threat on the coast, but a big water threat for more inland areas here, because we are expecting an additional 1.5 inches per hour some areas, and up to even 2 inches per hour in some areas like Chimbingi, and as well areas like Masvingo, continuing into Africa.
Yeah, he does make a good point. The fact that this storm is moving into Zimbabwe right now. I just showed y'all the satellite here at the beginning of the stream. The storm is moving into Zimbabwe right as we speak. It's in a completely different country, and they are still getting absolutely massive waves in this area, up to 10-foot waves, 9-10-foot waves, and this storm is in a completely another country already, and they're still seeing maybe 1 or 2 foot storm surge in some areas. And again, this is a very, very poor country, the second poorest country in the world, and they are still getting hammered. And the bans are still in Mozambique, and even parts of farther eastern Mozambique, they're still getting these rain bans. And now the storm did make landfall. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it made landfall between 90 and 100 miles an hour, correct?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it made landfall like at 90 miles an hour.
So, even at 90 miles an hour in the outer bands, there could have potentially been some tornadoes. Now, I don't know how if there were any tornadoes, they would not have been significant. But regardless, it would have still been really, really bad, because it's a very poor area. You have a tornado. There's no warnings. It's gonna happen. When they happen, and they're fast. And they oftentimes, a 50, 60 mile an hour tornado can do a lot of damage. And it can be absolutely, it's horrible. Because tornadoes just happen. They spin up really, really quickly. And they're a lot harder to do warnings for, like 5-10 minute warning. And there's no shelter in place. There's no underground concrete bunkers underneath these houses. They're just shacks sitting out there, and you get a tornado coming right by there, it's just gonna rip that house apart. And that's another thing I was worried about, but I don't think there were any tornado reports in Mozambique.
Yeah, again, we really won't be able to find out since they don't have a station that we can use.
But I'm not surprised if there were tornadoes, and
I would doubt they were, unless maybe I doubt they would have, because the mountainous region, though.
like on the coast, like right on the edge of the coast.
Yeah. I doubt there will be tornadoes like where it made landfall, but if the storms are severe enough, which they might be, it might just be some really harsh rain showers. And I'm not sure about actual thunderstorms, but definitely there weren't tornadoes on the coast where it made landfall because it was too mountainous. But maybe a spotty dust, like a dust tornado. I'm not exactly sure if there are variable conditions where Eloise is right now for tornadoes.
Yeah, I don't. The terrain is very unfavorable for tornadoes, but definitely the flooding outweighs all the other dangers with this system. Tornadoes, high winds, flooding, and storm surge were the biggest threats. And I'm afraid, big waves are still a threat for Mozambique. 10-foot waves for Mozambique still. Even parts of South Africa are still getting a lot of waves. And it's really, really bad still. And there's really not a lot that I can say at this point. Now that it's made landfall, if people haven't taken shelter or have evacuated to another town, it's really, too late at this point. Obviously, it's already made landfall in another country. So it's really bad. And I hope that people I hope that the future of this part of the continent, maybe they can get some kind of meteorological organization, because these hurricanes, if these cyclones keep hitting this area, people are going to continue to die. I don't mean to scare anyone, but the danger is going to continue to be there if there is no warnings in place. People will not know about this because of the country and how poor it is, and that's the truth. It's really sad, but that's the honest truth.
All right, so Losi made landfall at 85 miles an hour, not 90. It was 90 miles an hour before landfall, and then it hit as 85.
That's still
Yeah,
really strong.
still 5 mile an hour difference isn't too much of it. It doesn't really make much of a difference, really, because obviously winds is not even close, or it's probably the third biggest threat when it comes to tropical systems. Obviously, the first one is flooding / storm surge, and storm surge really does become a big easy flood factor for the coast, but obviously inland flooding as well is a big threat, and then that obviously will cause potential landslides since we are in a mountainous region, or it made landfall in a mountainous region, but it's not a mountainous region anymore. But that's the reason why the storm hasn't really weakened at a fast rate, because it did make landfall 85, and it obviously is still a weak tropical storm right now. So it's still strong if you think about it where it is now and the speed it's been moving at, and it's still bringing some damaging wind gusts. Because if you think about it, this has been a very slow mover, which means it's brought those outer bands across South Africa, not just landfall. Now that the actual low pressure is moving over these areas, it's the saturated soil. 40 miles an hour will take down buildings and trees easily with 40 miles an hour. And you don't think about 40 miles an hour being that dangerous, but when you've had 12 plus hours straight of rain and the soil is just so damp, that 40 miles an hour can easily take down trees, and maybe 60 plus mile an hour gusts. It's like a piece of cake.
I remember during Harvey, the storm never really brought a lot of winds, but there was over 60 inches of rain in parts of the Houston area, and trees were literally down. There were small gusts, maybe 20 to 30 mile an hour wind gusts, and small trees were uprooted in parts of Houston because 60 inches of rain. It was literally flooded. Literally flooded. And the gusts weren't that strong at all, but trees were still uprooted because of how much flooding there was. The ground was completely saturated. So the floods really make everything more dangerous, and it's like Adrian said, you get 40 mile an hour winds or gusts up to 60 miles per hour. It's going to take down that tree. It's going to take down, easily a building. These buildings aren't strong. No, they aren't built very, well. But you get a 60 mile an hour wind gust, the buildings are going to collapse and trees are going to fall. And it's going to really make it really, really dangerous for people to be out. Or at this time, even people being in their house. You have trees around your house and you get a 60 mile an hour wind gust and that tree falls in your house. These aren't like concrete, these aren't like, really expensive buildings that are built to sustain tropical cyclones. These are just buildings so people can live. You get a 60 mile an hour wind gust and a house collapses on it and there's a family in there. That family's going to die instantly. And so if you're outside, you're in danger. If you're inside, you're in danger. The only place you're going to be safe is if you're not in the path of this storm.
Sebastian, you want to talk or mention anything?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Though this will definitely be very severe. we could see like houses being destroyed, and like a lot of people could very well die. They don't have any meteorological agency. They don't really know what's coming. They might just think it's a regular storm if they don't have internet. Because a lot of people, 55% of the population there is below the poverty line. So they probably don't have internet. So a lot of people don't know what's going on. And they might just think it's a rainstorm, so they go outside and then they can die.
It's just, it's hard. It's just so sad. I just wish I could, just seeing this happening, trying to get that word out. And there's honestly, I can't give them warnings, and it's just, there's not much we can do this is the most we can do to warn people in other countries, and they don't have internet, and the people that do have internet are most likely above the poverty line. And here is a map that Live on Tropics sent us, and so again, here's that system, Eloise. Bring that up. So again, as it is moving, I do want to move in. So again, this is the latest, but as y'all know, it is going to continue moving into parts of southern Zimbabwe, and it's going to be very, very bad. It's going to weaken eventually down to a tropical storm, and then eventually weaken down to a depression. Let's see. I want to see if there's any. Yeah, there's obviously no warnings because there's no meteorological organization. Let's see. No. Hold up. Let's see. Live on Tropics sent me this, and I'm not sure what it is. This says in 12 hours, latitude, 45 knot winds. Wind field is not applicable. Currently it says it's category 1 with 75 knots, which I don't believe. But right now, I just want people to know, if you're watching this, if you're still in the path of this, I get it. It's weakening. Yes, indeed, it is weakening. But still, it's going to bring up to 12 inches of rain for southern Botswana. Alright, this is going to continue to move into southern Zimbabwe, and it's going to affect parts of northern South Africa, and it's already starting in areas of eastern Botswana are starting to feel the impacts of that rain coming down. So, we're going to watch this, and this is going to bring a lot of flooding to Botswana, and then eventually continues to, and then this is going to continue to move into western Botswana and then eastern Namibia, and they're also going to get a lot of heavy rain from this. So it's just, again, it's sad, but this is the best that we can do. Please, everyone, if you're watching this, please, if you have to, get on foot and get out of the way of this storm. This is nothing to play with. Even though it is going to weaken into a depression, it's still going to bring a large and huge amount of rain to the area. To these countries, I should say. Southern Africa. Southern part of the continent of Africa is going to get a lot of rain from this storm. And then Live on Tropics wants us to talk about 13. Is there anything else y'all want to say regarding Eloise?
Yeah, Eloise, it won't really be weakening rapidly. It's still actually 70 miles an hour. So it's actually an environment. Like, Australia is in an environment where storms can actually strengthen over Australia. It has happened before, where tropical cyclones can actually strengthen or barely weaken very slowly over Australia. That's Australia's environment. And it seems Mozambique is somewhat like that, where the storm won't weaken really fast, and it's going to bring a lot of damage.
Yeah. So, just be careful, everyone. Evacuate if you can. But I do want to move on to 13. That's 14, 13. So again, 13, really isn't anything important to talk about, as it is the closest country is West Island. I don't even know if it's considered a country, but I was looking at it earlier this morning, and I'm not even joking. The country's airport is half the size of the island. The main island. So, this is a very small country that it's near. I don't know much about the country. I most likely does not have a meteorological organization. It's extremely tiny. But regardless, they are getting 9-foot waves earlier this morning. 9 and 10-foot waves from the system. So, there's a lot of convection with it, but it is not expected to make, threaten land anymore. And this storm is just going to probably strengthen, maybe. I have to actually look at the forecast track from the Joint Typhoon Warning Center. So this is what the Joint Typhoon Warning Center says. It is expected to reach winds of around 45 knots, about 50 miles per hour, and then begin to weaken. So this isn't going to be a big, powerful storm. It's just going to eventually fall apart. It's going to strengthen a little bit more, and then it's going to eventually fall apart and dissipate, and that's gonna be the end of that. But there are in fact flood warnings. I don't know if y'all want me to talk about this. I have to actually find it. That's the thumbnail. There are flood warnings for Australia right now. Do y'all want me to talk about the flood warnings for Australia, or do you want me to forget it?
I mean, I mean, pretty self-explanatory to the reasoning for Australia having flood warnings.
Yeah, it is, and I did talk a little bit about it this earlier this morning, but there is a low pressure in that area from a system that made landfall earlier on, and it's just producing heavy rain. And now it is, there's actually flood warnings for the sandy desert, and so again, it's a desert. There's not going to be a lot, it doesn't get a lot of rain in the first place. Up to 4 inches of rain. Might be 5 inches of rain. I'm not sure what 100 millimeters is. Might actually be 5 inches of rain. And it's a desert. Doesn't get a lot of rain. There's not a lot of plants or trees to soak it up. And so it's just going to, pool in that area and could cause some flood problems. But don't think there's many, towns that are in the middle of Australia in the first place. So there isn't too much of a threat for Central Australia. Well, it's in South Australia now, I think. But some flooding is going to occur for that area, and that's pretty much it. Is there anything else that y'all want to add or talk about?
Give me a sec.
I mean, really, these storms, Eloise, obviously, it's most important. We kind of already mentioned it quite a bit. 13S really won't do anything whatsoever except go out to sea. Most likely do nothing because it's in the middle of the Indian Ocean. I think that's mainly it, unless we want to mention like United States stuff, but obviously it's kind of more of a tropic thing, so I'm not really up to you at this point.
Live on Tropic says 94p. Wait, what? Hold up, let me refresh this. 94p. Alright, it is over the it's over the Gulf of Carpentaria. I don't know how to pronounce it. There's a new Invest, 15 knots, 1003 millibars. Did not know there was a storm, so I need to refresh stuff. Okay. Infrared. Okay, let's see what they're showing here. Hold up a moment while I wait for this to load. So it does look like there has been some convection with this system. Now, regardless, what I see with this system is there's just going to be a lot of heavy rain. In Queensland, Australia, there's going to be a lot of heavy rain with this system. So, biggest threat will be flooding. Now, I do want to go to the Joint Typhoon Warning Center and see what they're saying. Let me refresh this. They're still not even acknowledging it in the Joint Typhoon Warning Center. Okay. But there's a system, as you can see right there. There's some convection. Flooding is going to be the biggest threat. It's not going to be anything. It's not going to be, super duper huge and massive, and it's not going to be, catastrophic or anything. But again, here's that system. I mean, it is trying to get itself organized, and it has gone through quite a lot of convection here in the past hour and a half to 2 hours. So flooding is going to be the biggest threat, and that's pretty much it. Flooding for Queensland, Australia. I think I'm going to wrap it up there. If anyone else wants to say anything, feel free to add your comments in.
You say it first, Adrian. You talk first, Adrian.
No, I said I'm good. Like, I really said mainly everything I wanted to say. It's just, again, not too much to really talk about.
Also, we are setting up the merch store today, everybody. Merchandise store, and we will start accepting orders in like a My mom is pretty busy right now, but we will start accepting orders in like 2 or 3 days. And Aria, your merch will be with you soon. And we haven't sent the business card yet, but we will send that as well.
All right. Let's see. Hold up.
And
All
I
right.
will make the changes you wanted.
All right. Thank you. That's me for today, guys. Have a wonderful rest of your afternoon, and we will talk to everybody at 7 p.m. Central Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Right now, feel free to go in the chat and ask any questions. If your question is longer and more descriptive, feel free to go email us at hurricanewatchteam.com, and we will answer you as soon as possible. With all that being said, peace out.
Wait, we haven't given them time to
Bye,
answer.
guys.
Oh, yeah.
We haven't given them time to answer a question yet.
Oh, that's right. I forgot.
Yesterday, we had 2 viewers from Mozambique, and they were on the coast of Mozambique yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know that?
Yeah, I was watching some of the
So
stream.
they might be back. Do we have any people from Mozambique? Yeah, they lived in yeah, so the storm looks like it's falling apart on the satellite imagery, but it's really barely falling apart. Anyway, okay, feel to email us at the hurricanewatchteam@gmail.com. I will put it if that's it, everybody, and there is the business email, and we hope you enjoyed. Can I make a video later, Aria?
Yeah, and you didn't actually put the real email. That just says hurricanewatch@gmail.com. But
That's our Gmail. They Gmail. Yeah, they email us there.
it's hurricanewatchteam@gmail.com, but okay.
Oh, my bad.
All right, guys. Well, hope you guys enjoyed the stream. It was a little bit short, but still kind of descriptive. And we will be live streaming again later this evening. Like Area said, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Continuing on the tropics here. And maybe we can mention the United States a little bit. But yeah, hope you guys enjoy the live stream.
Make Live on Tropics a mod.
I've been trying to. It doesn't do anything. It's like broken. Literally.
Oh, because he has to type something new. He has to type something new, and then you'll see as a mod.
Okay.
Okay, so make him a mod, and when he types something new, he should be a mod.
Okay, well, alright. Well, I keep making him a mod, and it keeps on modding him. But that's going to be it for today, guys. Have a wonderful day, and peace out.
Peace out. Bye. Go subscribe.